The story of NRG this season has probably been the most insane fall off ever. Where after having all the expectations in the world going into the season, after picking up 2 reigning world champions to pair with the core of the Masters winning Optic, they were supposed to be the super team of the year, with anything less than a deep run in a Masters event being a letdown. Now they only played 1 match more than the league minimum. And while it seemed all so unpredictable, when really analyzing this roster, we should have all seen it coming right from the roster announcement video. They were destined to fail this year. And while fans are quick to scapegoat someone for this tragic collapse, the reason why they never had been successful is a lot more complicated than just one player or coach. It's the very essence of this team. And the origin of this ill-fated team started with their roster announcement video just 2 days before Christmas, with the Valorant world already declaring them the next world champions. The first true super team with 2 trophy-winning rosters mashed up together to take on the second franchise season. They even stamped their claim on the villain role this year, the end boss that the other great teams would have to overcome. And it was warranted. There didn't seem to be a single weak link on this team, with experience bursting at the seams, something that only Fnatic could come close to. So they were a lock for a top spot in their region the entire year. And if they didn't reach at least 1 international grand finals, they'd be chalked up as a failure. But there were some concerns with there being no clear IGL. But after it was announced that Ethan would be taking on the IGL role for the first time, after spending so much time as a secondary caller in both CS and Valorant, the team looked too good to falter under Ethan. And in the opening matches of the kickoff tournament, things went as planned, with Demon 1 continuing where he left off from his world-class rookie season, giving them wins against Furia and Cloud9 in 2-0 sweeps, with them already 1 match away from making the first Masters. All they needed to do was get past Sentinels, who after struggling all last year, have been trying out new players and ideas. And so while it looked to be an interesting game to watch to see how Sentinels would match up against NRG, fans going into this matchup didn't predict much of a problem for this ready-made super roster of NRG over the Sentinels team with a new IGL that just moved up from tier 2. But over the course of the 3 maps, it became clear that they weren't this indestructible juggernaut that they were projected to be, as they first lost in overtime with Ethan struggling to juggle both responsibilities calling and actually playing the game. While Demon 1 didn't look like his high-flying self on Jet, being shut down a lot as the game progressed. They were able to move it to a map 3, but then the main issues that had plagued them this entire season became clear, as they were taken apart on Split. This being the clearest difference between how John QT and Ethan both played, as while they both IGL'd, the experienced tier 2 IGL dominated, while Ethan, who had shown he can frag with the best of them, just floundered as he struggled to learn how to IGL on the fly, eliminating them from the event and ruining their hopes for Masters Madrid. And while fans at the time called Sentinels just lucky it was a single elimination match and that NRG were robbed, it was clear from this moment that they were destined to fail for the rest of the season. Even if they won this and qualified, they would have just been exposed on the international stage. And it's because of 3 major issues. And I already harped on one of the biggest ones, the leadership issues, as this team was a perfect case study for future teams that you can't just turn a secondary caller into an IGL overnight. IGLs are a certain type of player that usually builds the skill before they even come close to reaching the top tier of Valorant. A player with good game sense, is vocal, and can frag doesn't actually mean they're an IGL. They truly just might be a secondary caller, something that is critical for a team's success. Just look at his time on EG. With him being a chiller secondary caller behind Boostio, it allowed him to provide his team with powerful reads while also still being able to play at a high level as an initiator. So when he was given full responsibility to call for this new team, he couldn't focus on either effectively, resulting in very lackluster play, with the entry players in Victor and Demon 1 feeling it the worst, with him being disjointed time and time again, no matter what side they played on. It's so stark the difference from EG to NRG just in his 3rd game with them. Which leads into the second major issue, which after this match just got worse throughout the season. They had serious role and personality issues. Not like they were fighting a lot, but they didn't seem to have the correct mix of personality types that usually lead teams to trophies in Valorant. At first, it wasn't that apparent, as they looked like a good team with some rough moments, but good enough to sweep both Loud and Furia. Of course, with hindsight, we know that the Brazilian teams were trash, but at the time, this 2-0 start kept the belief that this super team would rebound and make Shanghai. And in their match against Lev, these role issues were revealed, resulting in dysfunction all throughout their match against Lev.
Crashies can play the super well, there's no way!
With him first being absolutely destroyed on Sunset, then being torched on Bind, with only Marv picking up any notable kills all map, being swept 2-0, showing all the cracks in the super team's core to the entire Valorant world that were there since the birth of this lineup. After that loss, they were able to rebound against the worst team in franchising to finish their sweep of Brazil. But here's where the wheels truly fell off. As right now, NRG are in the driver's position to clinch one of the 3 playoff spots, like they were expected to, as they would just be up against a new EG team and a Boostio-led 100 Thieves team. And all the super team needed to do was win one of them to qualify. But their role issues and leadership struggles continued, with them barely able to bring the EG game to a map 3 after being blown out on their map pick of Ascent. With Marv Donoman making weird mistakes he wouldn't have backed with Optic, and Demon 1 not looking like the same explosive duelist he was on EG, while Jajimo showcased why EG was actually successful. EG wasn't just the Demon 1 show, as he needed another explosive entry player to take the pressure off of him, something NRG couldn't do for him as they lost Ascent 13-6, then barely escaped Lotus in triple overtime to just be outstratted on Sunset, with Demon 1 yet again not looking to be in his best role for the team, as he struggled on Raze, while Jajimo again popped off to lead his team to victory to put NRG in do or die to even make the playoffs in Split 1. But by the time they got to this match, it seemed like the vibe for the team was at an all-time low, with serious personalities seeming to clash and shake the core of this supposed super team. Something that they didn't have with EG or Optic, as both these trophy-winning teams had the correct personalities and temperament to both be serious and focused in important moments, and able to pick up the energy when they're slumping. For this form of NRG, they had the serious and focused part down, but the player that could revitalize a team when the mood is bad like Celsius, Jajimo, or Boostio wasn't there. Instead, they continued their downward spiral, being convincingly defeated in 2 straight maps, with them now missing out on qualification for the 2nd international in a row, something that would have been unheard of when they first released their roster announcement video. And with Split 2, their final chance of the season starting soon, their 3rd major issue appeared. NRG started making roster changes. With Marv leaving and Demon 1 seeing out for the rest of the season, they brought in their former IGL FNS and Smokes player Som, who ended their season last year in heartbreaking terms.
Time to go for the plan, he's swinging around the corner, and he manages to get it done! Som with a shorty doesn't find it!
To hopefully shake up this ailing team, providing new leadership and hopefully launching a surprise end of the season comeback to take the final playoff spot, something that would require them to at least win half of their remaining games against the harder group of the 2, with it facing 3 of the 4 teams that ended up qualifying for champs later on. So they would have to right away return to their early 2023 form, together with FNS now at the helm yet again. But that's not how it went. Before I go into the matches that killed any hope of FNS saving them as their God Emperor, we need to first recognize the terrible schedule they were given in this split, with them first playing Sen in the opening week, a tough matchup already, but that isn't the problem because their final 3 matches against G2, Crew, and C9 would all take place in less than a week. They'd have less than 2 days of prep for Crew after a must-win against the hot G2 team. Then after that, only 3 days before facing Cloud9. Maybe they could have won these games if given more time to really prep, as 2 to 3 days is nowhere near enough when it comes to do or die matches, while their opponents had more favorable ones. Still tough, as scheduling in the regular season is rough for everyone, but for NRG it was just brutal. And with that all working against them, really less than a month of prep time wasn't enough for such an important roster change, making them look completely behind the meta, always struggling to keep up. Their hopes disappeared faster than they came, with them being swept by G2 and Sentinels to almost eliminate all their chances of squeaking into the playoffs already. They were able to win more comfortably against Crew even after having no prep time, with Som reminding us why he's more than a streamer. But finished in 7th place, 1 away from playoffs because of a 3-map loss to Cloud9 in overtime, after being up 12-5. One of the worst comebacks allowed, breaking the hearts of NRG. And with that, NRG's season was over, done before it ever really started, with this once thought of super team ending with 0 international appearances, not even making a regular season playoffs, choking leads of 12-5 against rosters that they would have destroyed a year ago. With those role issues, leadership struggles, and roster changes, they were destined to go down this path this year. Looking towards the next season, they've already made some changes to the team, with head coach Chet and flex player Victor leaving the team soon after their run ended, officially breaking up one of the longest running duos in the game, making it clear that the next year's NRG team will be of FNS's creation, as they still have a 5-player roster, and as of right now doesn't show any hints at changing and dropping any additional players, as the 5 they have now on the team makes a lot more sense from an agent pool and role perspective. With an entire offseason to prepare, they should be a lot closer to the super team we expected at the beginning of this season. Make sure you subscribe with notifications on. As the Valorant season wraps up, I have a number of high quality documentaries coming out to keep you entertained during this long offseason, so I know you won't want to miss out.